Pull up any anime scene where a character breaks down crying. Just one drawing, a few lines on a screen, some color and shadow. Now compare that to watching a real person cry in a Hollywood drama. Which one actually makes you feel something? If you're like most people, especially if you grew up online, the drawing wins every single time. That doesn't make sense on paper. Real humans showing real emotion should connect with us more deeply than cartoons, right? But your brain doesn't care about what should happen. It cares about what does happen. And what happens is that anime bypasses your logical mind and speaks directly to the part of you that feels before it thinks. Your brain reads emotion through patterns, not reality. When you see someone's face in real life, you're processing thousands of tiny details. The exact angle of their eyebrows, the tension in their jaw, the wetness in their eyes, the flush in their cheeks. Your brain has to sort through all that information to decode what they're feeling. It's complicated. It's messy. Sometimes you misread it entirely. Anime strips all that complexity away and gives your brain exactly what it needs to recognize emotion instantly. Those massive eyes that take up half the face, they're not unrealistic. They're optimized. Eyes are the primary way humans communicate feeling, so anime makes them impossible to miss. That single tear sliding down a cheek in perfect slow motion, it's not melodramatic. It's concentrated emotional information delivered with surgical precision. When anime exaggerates expressions, it's not moving away from reality. It's moving toward the way your brain actually processes emotion. The distortion makes the feeling more clear, not less authentic. Before we go further, do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now. You're about to understand why you've cried over fictional characters more than real people in your life. And trust me, you'll want to remember where you learned this. Here's where it gets weird. The simpler a face is, the more emotional weight you project onto it. Psychologists call this projective identification, and it's the reason stuffed animals feel comforting even though they're literally just fabric. When details are minimal, your brain fills in the gaps with your own experiences and feelings. Anime character designs are deliberately built around this principle. They give you just enough information to recognize a person, but not so much that the character becomes someone else entirely. Those big, simple eyes and soft features create a blank canvas. You don't see their pain. You see your pain reflected back at you. This is why anime characters often feel more relatable than live-action actors, even though actors are actual humans. The actor has their own face, their own mannerisms, their own energy. You're watching them experience something, but anime characters are designed to be vessels. You're not watching them feel, you're feeling through them. Every time that character struggles, your brain maps your own struggles onto their experience. They become you in a way that's impossible with live action. Live action is trapped by physics. A crying scene happens in a real room with real lighting and real weather and real limitations. The director can control the camera angle and the music, but they can't make the rain fall in slow motion to match the character's tears. They can't turn the sky red to show rage or wash the entire scene in blue to communicate loneliness. Anime has no such restrictions. When a character feels despair, the background can literally crack and crumble around them. When they're drowning in anxiety, the screen can fill with dark water, even though they're standing in a classroom. When joy breaks through after episodes of suffering, the animation can shift from muted tones to explosive color in a single frame. These aren't cheap tricks, they're emotional language. Your subconscious brain reads visual metaphors faster than it processes dialogue. You see cherry blossoms falling, and you feel the passage of time and the bittersweetness of impermanence before anyone says a word. You see a character surrounded by darkness with a single beam of light breaking through, and you understand hope without needing it explained. Anime directors are speaking directly to the part of your brain that thinks in symbols and feelings, and that part of your brain runs the show when it comes to emotion. Every frame in anime is intentional, in a way live action can never match. When you film a real actor, they blink, they shift their weight, they have tiny unconscious movements that aren't part of the story. Anime has none of that noise. Every single movement, every pause, every breath is a deliberate choice made by someone who knows exactly what emotional response they're engineering. Japanese animation has a specific concept called ma, which refers to the space between things. It's the pause between words, the held frame before a character reacts, the moment of silence before the music swells. These moments of nothing are where emotion lives. Western media is terrified of silence. We fill every gap with dialogue or action or jokes to keep the audience from getting bored. Anime understands that the pause is where your brain catches up with your heart. That 3-second shot of a character's face after they've been hurt, no movement, no sound, just them processing what happened, that silence lets you process it too. The timing is mathematical. Animators know exactly how many frames to hold a shot before your emotional response peaks. They're not guessing. They're using decades of research into how human perception works to hit you at exactly the right moment with exactly the right intensity. You don't just watch anime characters, you grow with them. Most shows follow characters through extended arcs where you see them fail repeatedly, question themselves, break down, and slowly build themselves back up. You're there for every small victory and every devastating setback. This creates a bond that's different from typical movies where you meet characters at the beginning and leave them 2 hours later. You invest months or even years following these people. You see them at their worst. You see them vulnerable and afraid and making mistakes that hurt people they care about. Western heroes are often confident and capable. Anime protagonists are anxious overthinkers who doubt themselves constantly. They have the same internal battles you do. Should I take this risk? Am I strong enough? What if I let everyone down? What if I'm not special? These questions mirror the actual psychological experience of being young in an overwhelming world. The external battles are fantasy. The internal battles are documentary. When that character finally overcomes their fear or finds their strength or proves to themselves they matter, you're not watching their victory. You're experiencing your own because you've been mapping your insecurities onto them the entire time. Anime doesn't show what's happening. It shows how it feels. Live action excels at external reality. You see people in rooms having conversations, making choices, doing things. The camera captures what exists. Anime excels at internal reality. It visualizes the emotional experience that lives inside your head where cameras can't reach. When a character is depressed, the animation can show them literally sinking into shadows or drowning in black ink. When they're anxious, the world around them can distort and close in. When trauma surfaces, the art style itself can fracture and become chaotic. These visual metaphors translate inner experiences into images, taking feelings that are usually invisible and making them concrete. You know what your own anxiety feels like. You felt that crushing weight, that sense of the walls closing in, that spiral of intrusive thoughts, but you've never seen it. Anime shows it to you. It validates that the thing happening inside your head is real enough to animate, real enough to take seriously, real enough to fight against. For a generation dealing with unprecedented rates of anxiety and depression, seeing internal struggles treated as seriously as physical ones hits different. It's not minimized or joked away, it's the actual plot. Japanese storytelling comes from a cultural tradition that values emotional subtlety and internal conflict in ways Western media often doesn't. There's a concept called mono no aware, which roughly translates to the bittersweetness of fleeting beauty. It's the idea that things are more beautiful because they don't last, that sadness and joy are inseparable, that impermanence makes every moment precious. This philosophy runs through anime constantly. Characters find beauty in painful goodbyes. They treasure ordinary moments because they know they won't last. They sit with sadness instead of rushing to fix it. Western media wants resolution. Anime understands that some feelings don't resolve, they just exist, and that's okay. Studio Ghibli films will spend 5 minutes showing a character sitting quietly, watching rain, doing nothing that advances the plot. Those moments aren't filler, they're the point. They're showing you that it's okay to feel without needing to act, to sit with complicated emotions without forcing them into simple categories of good or bad. That permission to just feel is something a lot of people never got anywhere else. There's safety in fiction. You can cry for a character without feeling vulnerable. You can experience devastating loss through their story without risking your own heart. You can explore intense emotions in a controlled environment where nothing is actually at stake. For people who've learned to guard their feelings, who've been hurt by being too open, who feel safer keeping distance between themselves and their own emotional life, Anime provides a back door. You're not crying for yourself, you're crying for them. Except you are crying for yourself, but the fiction gives you permission to access those feelings without the fear that comes with direct vulnerability. Anime becomes a tool for emotional processing disguised as entertainment. You're working through your own pain and fear and loneliness by watching characters work through theirs. The distance makes it safe. The emotional honesty makes it effective. You're doing real psychological work while telling yourself you're just watching cartoons. The characters don't hide what they feel. When they're hurt, they scream. When they're happy, they glow. When they love someone, they say it out loud in ways that feel embarrassing if you're not used to emotional directness. There's no irony protecting them, no sarcasm deflecting from genuine feeling, no cool detachment to maintain their image. They're allowed to be messy and intense and completely unfiltered in their emotions. In a culture that's drowning in performative authenticity and calculated vulnerability, where everyone's trying to seem real while carefully managing their image, anime gives you characters who just feel things fully without apologizing for it. They don't follow up a sincere moment with a joke to cut the tension. They let the moment breathe. They honor the feeling by giving it space. That level of emotional honesty is rare enough in real life that seeing it animated feels revolutionary. It says the quiet things out loud, the things you feel but learned not to say because they make you too much, too intense, too vulnerable. Anime tells you those feelings are not just acceptable, they're the whole story. Anime doesn't just make you feel more, it makes you feel more honestly. It cuts through the defensive layers you've built, the emotional armor you wear to get through regular life, and connects directly with the part of you that still believes feelings matter. That's why it hits harder than reality, because reality taught you to guard your heart. Anime teaches you it's still there, still feeling, still capable of breaking open for a drawn character crying on a screen. That's not escapism. That's remembering how to be human.